All right, boys, we are in the day before the biggest preseason game of the year. Week 3 of the preseason, we're going up to Minnesota to play the Vikings. It is the most interesting preseason game to watch, at least. Typically, it's the game where the starters play the most. You can learn the most about your team. You can figure out what they might look like in the regular season. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case. We saw the starters for a full half last week. And I don't know if that was because they weren't playing very well. I don't know if it was because we just want to give them more reps because so many people are new. We're putting together a new offensive line. We're putting together new receivers. I don't know exactly what it is, but we saw them a lot last week. I don't know how much of them we'll see this week. I don't know if it's going to be like 3 quarters or if it's just going to be 2 again. But we will see them quite a bit. We're going to see them face off against one of the best teams in the conference, the Vikings. We know they're going to be good. They could be great. So we can learn some stuff. And as Seahawks fans, we all got to be vigilant for the signs of what kind of season we might be having based off this game. And for me, I'm watching a few things. So let's start with the offense. This is so important, guys, what I see over the next 2 preseason games, really. This is so important because we are so close, guys. I believe that we are very close to putting an offense around Russell Wilson that allows him to be his best self. Last year, I was hard on him because I don't think he played that great on the whole. I mean, obviously he led the league in touchdown passes. He was very good. I'm just not sold that he was great. A lot of those touchdown passes were because we could not run the ball at all. I think we had one rushing touchdown on a running play last year. Every other touchdown we scored on offense, other than that one J.D. McKissick touchdown run against the Colts, I think, was a passing touchdown. You're going to rack up crazy passing touchdowns when you can't run the ball at the goal line at all. We basically got rid of goal line running plays last year and swapped them out for Jimmy Graham fades. So, I think some of those numbers are a little overrated. I know he played very well, very good. I don't think he played great, and I think some of it was on him, but a lot of it was we did not put an offense around him that allowed him to be his best self. The only things that Russell Wilson had last year that were taking him over the top, that were like helping to unlock his potential, were Doug Baldwin, who did not have his best season, by the way. He didn't even break 1,000 yards, and Jimmy Graham inside the 10-yard line. Everything else he had, some of it was pretty good, like Paul Richardson and Dwayne Brown and Justin Britt. Some of it was average, like I guess Luke Wilson. Some of it was just bad, like Jimmy Graham outside of the 10, Jermaine Ifedi, most of the year Ethan Posick, just Tanner McAvoy. We just never really put him in a situation where he could be the quarterback that we all saw him be in 2015 over the second half of the year. He almost won MVP based off of 8 games that year. This year, I believe that we're close to putting him in a situation where he can be his best self again. The receivers, Tyler Lockett is coming back from a leg injury. Last year he played through it. I don't think he had a very good season. I think that this year he could come back and get back on the track that he was on before he broke his leg. And if he does, then we've got 2 dynamic wide receiver threats that are, very, very good. I believe that out of the guys that we have fighting for the reserve spots, Brandon Marshall, David Moore, Jerron Brown, we're going to get like 2 guys who can produce in regular season games and play well, and that's going to be enough. I think we're going to get a little bit out of tight end, not a lot. I mean, obviously, look, this team deserves it. If we don't get a ton out of the tight end position this year, then that's what happens when you let Jimmy Graham go and you bring in like Ed Dixon and nothing else. And, everybody can look at this roster right now and say we're not going to get a ton out of the tight end position, but I think we can get a few catches there. We got a couple good running backs. We got a decent backfield situation, I think. We got an offensive line that is coming together in so many places. Fluker has fit in so far and looked really good. Posick looks much improved. We know that Justin Britt and Dwayne Brown are pretty good. So we are so close to putting Wilson in a spot where he can just go out there every Sunday and play great for 60 minutes. We are putting him in that situation, if only for that right tackle spot. I think that's the only thing that's missing. And Jermaine Ifedi, we are at the low point with Jermaine right now. Nobody in Seattle believes in him. Nobody thinks he's the right tackle of the future. Nobody thinks he's any good. We cannot really go down from here very much. And tomorrow night is a night for him to prove a little something and show that, hey, maybe he's going to figure this out. Better late than never. Because he's running out of time. Because I'll say this, in week 3 of the regular season, he looks bad. I'll be ready to pull him out of the game and replace him with anybody. Because I'm that close with him. And this week we saw George Fant practicing at right tackle. I don't really want George Fant, who is already a below average player, to have to switch positions and then have his first real game at that position be against Von Miller. Like, that sounds like a really bad idea, but I'm desperate. This team is desperate. I'm willing to try that. Even a guy like Battle, the second string right tackle behind Fetty. Look, that's it, guys. I think that's the final piece to the puzzle. Wilson, he's got the receivers that he needs, I think. He's got the running backs. Most of the offensive line is set up. If we can get that right tackle position to play at least at an NFL level, I think Wilson can go out there and have a killer season and be one of the best players in the league. That's it. We're that close, guys. And Wilson's all we have now. Russell Wilson is the only thing that can take us over the top and make us a great team. There is nothing else on this team that has the chance to take us over the top. Not anymore. You know, for the last 6 years, the defense can take us over the top even when the offense isn't doing anything because they were that good. We don't have that anymore. We have a couple good players on defense, and they're not going to be able to carry the team. That it's not going to work this year. So the number one thing, the most important thing, is getting that right tackle spot figured out. I think everything else is in place on this offense. I'm not saying it's all great. We don't have a super duper star wide receiver, I don't think. We are a little weak at tight end, but I think it all can fit together and work. But I can't have guys like Von Miller and David Irving and freaking Chandler Jones if he's still in Arizona and whoever, all these edge rushers. I can't have him killing the quarterback because then we have no chance this year, guys. Because if anything gets in the way of Wilson being his best self, they cancel it. And that's the only thing I see in his way. I believe the rest of this team is coming together pretty well on offense. But I got to see something there. So that is the first, second, third, and fourth thing I will be watching tonight and in pretty much every game we play. Now, look, if we get to the regular season and guys like Posick and Fluker aren't playing well, then that might change. But as of right now, you need that missing piece. Defense, you can kind of watch a lot of different things because it's going to be tough to stop teams this year. I really believe that. I mean, this team last year, even in the few years before that, they had a great defense, and they still sometimes struggled to get off the field. You know, they had a bend, don't break defense in a lot of games last year. They committed a lot of penalties to keep teams on the field. I mean, if we mess around like that this year, we're going to get killed in most of these games. So, but beyond the fact that I want to see games get cleaned up, I don't want to see these penalties, I don't want to see the offsides. I'm going to continue to watch the defensive line first and foremost when we don't have the ball. And look, I know the secondary is not going to be that good this year. We all know that. The secondary, we're asking a lot of some guys who are probably not ready, but we have to ask it of them because that's all we have. I know our linebackers are great, but they're not going to win games by themselves. So we need something after Frank Clark, somebody else who can get after the quarterback and I need to see it get done against starting offensive lines. Rasheem Green wrecking backups is great, but that's not going to help in the regular season. You're not playing backups for the most part. And until I see it in regular season games, I'm not going to totally believe it, but I can be encouraged by what I see in a game like tomorrow. So that's the long and short of it for me. This week, the Seahawks did make a couple decisions. They went with Janikowski over Jason Myers, which at kicker, which I'm not excited about it, guys. Janikowski's been a pretty mediocre kicker his whole career, but I don't suddenly believe he's going to become a great kicker. But maybe he'll, have one of those better than average seasons for him this year. He'll be on the right side of variance. And, certainly he hasn't been a bad kicker for most of his career. Obviously, we made a choice with Michael Dixon to be our punter, which obviously the correct choice. And J.D. McKissic's going to be out the first few weeks of the season probably, but there's no room for him to play with the team the way it is right now, so I'm not even thinking about that really. And that's what we got, guys. I don't believe that this team, based off what I've seen and based off the roster that they put in front of me, can compete for the Super Bowl this year. But for them to be good this year, the only chance that we have is Wilson having a big season. And we need the offense to put him in position to have that big season. And I think if we can get something going at that right tackle spot, we got it. Where at the very least, even if we don't have a very good season, we're going to score a lot of points. So please let me see something good tomorrow night. I'll see you guys after the game, and we'll see how I feel then. Peace out.